Welcome back to the Mental Health Matchmaker podcast. I'm your host, Brooke, and today I'm joined by Jasmine, a registered therapist who helps her clients uncover the why behind their patterns through a psychodynamic lens and a deep understanding of the nervous system. She also shares a lot about her own immigration story and why it fuels the drive she has for showing up and making a difference in the lives of others. Let's get into it. Jasmine, lovely to have you here. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to dive right in by asking what you specialize in.
I do a lot of trauma work. So that includes childhood trauma, abuse, depression, anxiety, mood disorders, personality disorders, immigration, stress, women's issues as well.
So when we chatted, you shared a lot about your story, and you came to Canada when you were 11 years old. Can you talk a little bit about how that links to eventually pursuing this career? I know there's a lot that happened in between.
I was 11 when my family and we moved to Canada, and just experiencing a difference in culture, environment, weather. The school system was different too. There were a lot of struggles that came with that experience. What truly sparked my interest in having a career in counseling and psychotherapy was needing mental health support and not having it. You know, when you're a kid, you're going through a difficult time, you start to internalize because you don't comprehend the whole thing, whether it's the societal pressure, the systemic oppression, or any of that, right? You just start to internalize. You say, oh, it must be me. Like, maybe it's my fault. I'm not understanding this. But I think looking back now, having that mental health support would have made a lot of difference.
I think that the coolest thing is having used that story of yours as fuel and motivation to make a difference for other people.
It was challenging. The most challenging part was the language, learning the language. So I would have been in grade 6, I think. And we had to learn Shakespeare. You know, I didn't even speak English. And then I had to learn Old English, Shakespeare language. And I was like, well, everybody in my class, they get it. But I don't get it. I don't understand Act 1, C1, you know. So that part was hard for me. And I started to fall behind. And I didn't understand why. I just kind of internalized it that it must be me.
I think you also mentioned that you didn't have struggles like this before with grades and stuff like that. So to be in this new environment and suddenly be falling behind, it's not a lack of effort or a lack of care. That would be really upsetting.
Yeah. So now I want to be that support for the kids out there, for the adults who feel the same way. They're not the problem. The problem is the problem. So sort of separate them from the problem.
That would be such an affirming and reassuring thing to hear.
Oh, for sure.
It sounds like in your experience, it was easy to start creating a story of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. So creating that separation probably is like, oh, maybe there's room in this story. Maybe this isn't everything and this isn't completely accurate.
Yeah. The thing is, when you start to separate the problem from yourself, then you can see the problem. And then when you can see the problem, you can solve the problem or you can manage that situation. It's called externalization. And I love that.
So if someone was coming to you as a client for this topic specifically, what are some of the things that you would take them through?
I would look at various different aspects of their life, right? So if it's a newcomer coming to adjusting to a new life in Canada, then I would look at the systemic processes. I would look at their identity. I would look at their the language barriers that they might be struggling with, right? This kind of issue calls for in-depth knowledge of a lot of things. So it's not just internal coming out from them. It's about everything that is impacting them. And then once they see that, then I would work with them with like different tools and strategies to help them manage and navigate their situations.
Okay, incredible. And I think I mentioned this once to you before, this thought that I had of the world of mental health and emotional wellness, sometimes feeling like a new language as well. Like there's a lot to uncover. And if you've never stepped foot in a therapy room, that can already feel overwhelming. So then if you add this other barrier of not understanding or having difficulties with the language of the place that you just moved to, there's like layers upon layers of things that would make you feel isolated or challenged. So having you as a therapist who's like, I have moved through this experience before, I understand, and I've truly been there, that would just be really reassuring.
I'm from the Southeast Asian culture. I speak the languages, and I've had counseling sessions with individuals that couldn't speak English at all. Language shouldn't be a barrier in getting mental health support.
And how cool to think back to that 11-year-old you.
Yeah.
And now you get to be this person that has transformed that story and gets to show up for others in that way. Like 11-year-old you would be very proud, I'm sure.
Very proud. And honestly, it feels great.
Okay, one thing that you've said before that I loved was that you let your clients take the lead. You said, they're the driver, I'm the passenger. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So this is like a client-centered approach to therapy where they take the lead, as in they tell me what are they hoping out of therapy, and then I'll provide my expertise and whether it is settling with them or not, right? The therapy is about doing the work, right? It's about actively making an effort into making things better for yourself. And I'm just guiding you. That's all it is. It's their hard work, their intentions, and it's all them.
Do you have clients that come to you initially saying, what do I do?
Yeah.
I've asked my therapist that question before, and then she's steered me away from that, which pushes me eventually over time as I lean in to develop more self-trust. And that is a really empowering thing. It does take time for sure. So you do have clients that come to you and they're like, what do I do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had clients that are just like, tell me what to do. Like, I'll just do anything. Just tell me what to do. But before the tell me what to do, the unraveling needs to happen, right? You need to understand why the problem is there in the first place, right? Let's just try to understand it. Let's increase our self-awareness. The thing is, like, every individual is unique, right? One strategy might not work with the other client, right? It takes a lot of like tailoring that kind of approach to the client so that it is unique to them. I work with the clients and I say, what do you like? What do you dislike? What are some of those passionate things that you do, like collecting rocks or whatever as a child? When did that go away? Like, would you bring that back? Would that help you? So it's all about that.
Yes, and that makes so much sense that you, like you said, the unraveling needs to happen first, because there's probably so much important information in that unraveling that comes through in your conversation that you can probably notice the way they speak about something. Maybe they light up because of something like a childhood memory, or maybe you notice like their tone change, and as the expert in the room, you'd be able to pick up on all this.
Observation, it goes a long way. So me as a therapist, I'm the one connecting the dots for them. And that's what they're here in therapy, because they haven't been able to connect the dots, and that's okay. That's okay. I can bring my expertise and do that. I can help you see, but in the end, the power is within them, right? It's all their hard work.
You said that you can prompt people by asking them, like, what things do you like? What do you not like? And even questions as simple as that. Growing up as someone who was a people pleaser and a perfectionist, I didn't even know for a long time that I could have preferences. Like I genuinely didn't even know. So when I unlocked that and I started to find my voice beneath the surface, which by the way, it was like deep, deep, deep down buried.
Yeah.
I started to open myself up to this whole world that I genuinely didn't know was there.
Yeah. That's the part of your unconscious that was just hibernating, right? And then maybe your therapist brought that up to your awareness. And now you're aware of it and you're like, oh, I didn't know that that was part of me. This kind of approach is called psychodynamic. And this is all about increasing the self-awareness. This is all about, knowing what you do and why do you do the way you do, your behavioral patterns. Do you easily get angry in traffic, or do you get triggered by something that in grand scheme of things may not be that big? Do you get triggered easily? I have some clients, sometimes they'll come to me and then they'll ask, like, why do I keep getting into these relationships? Why is it me? Like, am I attracting these kind of people? And it's like, let's talk about what's happening, right? Yeah. Let's talk about your preferences. What do you value in relationships, right? Then I would go back into a little bit back into the childhood and kind of see the early relationships, right? With their caregivers, for example. How was it? Can you describe your mom or dad in 3 words? When you were sad as a child, how did you resolve those issues? Did you suppress those emotions? Did you avoid it? What's your attachment style? So those are the kind of questions that we'll explore together. And that helps like bring out the awareness. I always tell my clients, I'm like, the more you know about yourself, the more control you'll have over managing that situation or navigating through that.
Right, because I imagine that the steps that you take and any action that you take is coming from this more connected place.
Yeah. Yeah. The inner child is still in you.
Yeah, I know.
We all have the smaller us. Maybe for some people it is a child that needed help but wasn't there. Maybe it is not feeling validated by their caregivers. And then so they develop certain techniques to avoid it in order to survive that situation or that uncomfortable situation. And that just became part of your personality, right? And now, that's why some people who have like avoidance personality trait, where they just look away and they don't want to face the problems, and then it becomes a bigger problem. That part might be coming from the past experiences, right? So psychodynamic is all about getting in touch with your roots.
In my own experience, when I make decisions that are difficult, I have that younger version of myself in my mind. And I do think through that lens a lot now. Even removing myself from a situation that's not comfortable and knowing I'm an adult now, I can do that. Maybe this younger version of me couldn't, but I can take her hand and say, like, we can remove ourselves, we can leave. Or, in a relationship that's not serving me or that's not reciprocal or...
Oh, powerful. It's beautiful. Even like, so my example for it, right? Let's take my example. The 11-year-old me would be like, now you're in that work. You're helping others, right? And it's fulfilling to see other people living their authentic life, right?
I teach yoga on the side, and I actually teach yin yoga, which, if you know me, you know that I'm a very fast-paced person. Like, I have a really hard time being still, which I feel like a lot of us struggle with that.
Yeah.
So it's funny that yin yoga is the type of yoga that I teach because it's so far from like what I gravitate towards naturally. And that for me is another way that I can show my younger self. We can settle into the stillness here. There's value in the still. There's value in the slow.
Yeah.
And that's a message I have always needed to hear.
Yeah.
And now I get to teach that. And it is the exact same feeling of living into something that felt out of reach and then being able to share it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We live in such a fast-paced world now. The opposite. So what you're saying is looked down upon, right? Being slow or just sitting. Just sitting with a cup of coffee and looking out the window is looked down upon. It's like you feel guilty internally that you're not being productive, that you're being lazy. But there's growth in that process. You know how many neurons are like firing when you're relaxed and you're actually able to take time to yourself? There's research on it. So this, like, you should be proud of that. This is such a powerful, there's growth.
There is growth. Well, there's equal value in the slow and still and then the action taking.
I am a big believer of like balancing life. Right? You do your work, right? And then you take some time to yourself. Guilt-free time to yourself. A lot of new mothers would feel guilty just for like just sitting for 2 seconds. Their brains are always like wired to just go, go, go. And it is exhausting. That exhaustion shows up as anxiety, as depression, postpartum depression. We need to kind of go back in time a little bit where we had time to ourselves and just slow down.
I'd love for that message to just like trickle out to everyone. And back to me because I still need the reminder.
I think we all do. We all do. We get stuck, right? Work. Sometimes people are taking work home and then they'll try to finish in the evening hours. The important thing is to draw boundaries. That self-care is super important.
True rest for me now is the picture you painted earlier of sitting outside, drinking a coffee and just looking out at the world. I think the way that I used to rest, scrolling on my phone, thinking like I'm having this full break and I'm just tapping out, not thinking about the fact that my brain is having to process all that information so quickly as I'm scrolling through, and that actually requires energy. When I am doom scrolling, then I notice myself shift into fight or flight mode. Is there more you could talk about when it comes to fight or flight?
Fight or flight is part of our nervous system. It's associated with, let's say, trauma, for example. Trauma is an experience that we're not in control of, right? It's an event or series of experiences that happen to us that is out of our control, and then it becomes a trauma. Trauma enters us in most primitive ways. It enters through our senses, what we hear, what we see, and it impacts the most primitive part of our brain, amygdala, which is responsible for, telling you that is it a safe situation or is it dangerous? Is it, fight or flight or freeze? What are you going to do? So people tend to, maybe they freeze, or maybe they fight, which might turn into anger, or maybe they flight, which may turn into avoiding situations. So our nervous system learns to deal with the situations, right? So long after when the trauma is over, your nervous system keeps reacting as if it's still in danger. A lot of the work that I do in therapy is teaching the nervous system to kind of like slowly rewiring it into creating a safe space for the client, make them feel like they can talk about anything without any judgment, right? It's self-compassion, a lot of self-compassion. What happened to you wasn't your fault, right? A lot of clients might blame themselves. So to answer your question, you get into fight or flight mode.
Would anxiety showing up be sort of a fight? Would that fall into the fight category?
Anxiety is, from evolutionary perspective, it's basically telling you it's dangerous. It's not okay. This situation is not good. Get out of it. Somehow. Run or fight it.
That's what mine tells me. Run.
Right. Yeah. So you're in the flight mode all the time, or majority of the time, right? And that then it becomes a pattern in our life. Then are we always running? Are we always avoiding things? It's very important I would argue that it's necessary to understand that. I have a lot of like narrative therapy as well, background into narrative therapy.
Mhm.
And the most powerful thing about narrative therapy is that your life is your story. And you get to decide what kind of meaning you want to give to that story, right? It's almost like if you can imagine a pen and you're rewriting your story from the past that you were unhappy with.
Wow.
So the power is with you. You have that control. And that is so empowering.
One topic I think would be really interesting to cover is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And you have said before that even a small shift in awareness can create big change.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Say more. I love that.
Aristotle famously said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Carl Jung, on the other hand, said that the one who looks outside dreams, the one who looks inside awakes. You know, we have all these famous philosophers, psychologists from all around the world, different cultures, reminding us over and over again and alluding to the same concept, which is self-awareness. Increasing your knowledge about yourself can create a big shift. And I think I alluded to that in the earlier too. The more you know about yourself, the more control you'll have over your situation and the challenges that you're facing. It might not make the challenges go away, but you'll have that control in how to manage those, right?
So obviously, therapy is the perfect place to start opening the door to the self-awareness, because we are able to, in this safe space, begin to unravel. I love the word unravel. You brought it up and now I can't get it out of my head. I picture like this big ball and it just being untangled, and out comes the story, and then we can look at it and...
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
I love that.
I think maybe I could find a more poetic way to word it, but that's the picture I have in my head.
And generally, that is the process too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to connect the dots with you, right? And with the clients. And that's the kind of work we do. 1 hour is not enough to do all of that.
Yes.
But that even the small change can be big.
It absolutely has a ripple effect.
Oh, for sure.
Firm believer.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. So clients can book in with you virtually or in the Mississauga location?
I work in Mississauga location. I do virtual and in person. And clients can get in touch with me via email or phone number, however they would like.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.